this lecture, we are going to see about two more advanced methods called as the swept meshing method and multi-zone meshing method inside Ansys Workbench. So for that, I'm going to go to the mesh group, right click, say insert, and go to the method. And in the method, first of all, we need to select the geometry for which you are going to apply the method. And as I told you in the previous lecture, based on your selection, you can either apply these settings to the global level, or otherwise you can get or apply these settings at the local level. Okay, right now what I will do is I will select both of these geometries, so that what will happen, I will be able to apply it at a global level, simply global level. So here, instead of automatic, what I will be doing is I will be going to the sweep. And once I go on sweep and I just right click, what will happen is it will be generating some mesh using the sweep technique. And see, what happened is the mesher has failed to initialize, because the mesh has failed to generate on this particular body, if you are able to see, because this body is not a sweepable body, because sweepable body requires some characteristics. So don't worry, if you have multiple objects in the body, you can just easily identify what bodies can be sweepable and what bodies cannot be sweepable using a tool, automatic tool present inside Ansys Workbench. For that, right click on the mesh, this one, and you can go to the show option and you can click on sweepable bodies. And once you select on sweepable bodies, this particular software is highlighting what are all the bodies that can be swept meshed. See, as I told you, only this body can be swept, that this body can be meshed using the sweep technique. And that is why, even though we have selected to create a sweepable mesh on both of these objects, it has applied the sweep settings only to this object, and here no mesh was generated. Until we deselect this object, total mesh won't be created. For that, you can go to the sweep method, and instead of two bodies, you can only select this body and you can click apply. And now if you are able to click on generate mesh, see here, you will be able to generate a mesh. Here a sweepable mesh was created. Here some automatic meshing algorithm happened, and it found that tetrahedrals are best for this, and it has meshed it with tetrahedron elements. So remember, all bodies cannot be swept. So in order to identify whatever the bodies that can be swept, you can just right click and say show and go to sweep bodies, sweepable bodies. Then this software will automatically show what are all the parts that can be swept. And remember, while doing sweep meshing technique can be applied to generate hexahedral elements on few of the objects, especially when you are using mechanical pins to join two objects in an assembly structure. There might be some critical areas. There you might be using this sweepable mesh technique and create hexahedrons on that pin and on that contact area also. So in such cases, this particular sweep mesh can be applicable. So once we have finished overall view of sweep meshing, we'll do some manual selection also. First thing is we'll go for the sweep method, and here if you are able to see SRC TRG, SRC means source, TRG means target. So in sweepable mesh, what will happen, you need to select a source face and you need to select a target face. So source face means first the software will generate a good hexahedral mesh on this surface, and taking that mesh as the reference, layer by layer it will create the mesh on the entire body which can be sweepable. So it is just like taking a template, 2D template, and over that it is placing all the 3D elements, the two hexahedral elements. Most probably it will generate hexahedral elements, but some spaces where if there is no other choice, it might create some trials, but never it will do. And remember, sweepable bodies are somewhat simple bodies only. Somewhat complicated bodies we can't sweep. Suppose for example, if we are able to remove this fillet and chamfer here, we will be able to easily sweep this particular body as well. But because of the somewhat complicated features that are present on this body, we will not be able to sweep that particular body. So here instead of automatic selection, you can also go for the manual selection if you want. So if you click on manual source and target, it will ask you to select the source face, it will ask you to select the target face. It depends on your choice. Why we have to select this? Because there is something called elemental direction. If you want that element order and element directions and other things, you need to select the source face and the target face. And especially when you are doing some sweepable mesh in round objects, let us say in axisymmetric objects and other things also, it is better, it is suggested that you select a source face and a target face. But for simple objects, you can directly go for the automatic selection. But now I will show you manual selection also. So if I select manual source, that means I will be able to only select the source face. Target face I can't select. So I will just click on here and I will select this particular face. Remember, you have to select the face. So I will go to the face selection and I will select this face. So if I click on apply, it will be selected as a source face. And if I just go for the manual source and target, I need to select, instead of one face, I need to select two faces. One face is the source face, another face is the target face. So I will keep it to automatic and say right click and say generate mesh. So this is one method in which you can generate elements, and see here you are able to get hexahedral elements here and over here also. You can take refinements, and you can do, if you want a great structure, you can split these objects, and it involves, as I already told you, generating hexahedral mesh requires a lot of manual operations and a lot of theoretical background, because we can't with simple settings we can't generate hexahedral mesh. Tetrahedral mesh can be generated somewhat, very good mesh can be generated with tetrahedrons. That's not a problem if we, even though we are using automatic meshing. Okay, then I will just delete this particular method and I will insert something called as a multi-zone method. Multi-zone meshing insert method, and I will select both of the objects and then I will click apply, and instead of automatic I will go for the multi-zone. And it is one of the efficient method. Wherever there are critical zones, it will create finer mesh. Wherever there are normal zones, it will create normal somewhat less density mesh. So we'll see. Anyway, we applied this multi-zone meshing, so we'll see what is the effect. So if you are able to see using the multi-zone meshing, if you are able to see here, there is a possibility of creating good hexahedrals. So what happened, it has created a good hexahedral structure here. Outside it was able to create a hexahedral element, so it has created. But sometimes what will happen is, in order to fill some gaps, it will be filling up with tetrahedrons. It will be using both types of elements. And remember, for sweep mesh, this is not a simple object. For multi-zone meshing, it is somewhat a simple object. In the next lecture, we are going to just revise ourselves with some mesh quality metrics, how to check mesh quality metrics and statistics of the mesh that has been generated. Already, if you want to know what is aspect ratio, Jacobian ratio and other things, you can refer to the material in the previous section, which was also related to meshing. There I have provided a theoretical video or a theoretical lecture wherein you can see what is aspect ratio means and what are the ranges it should vary for good mesh, for bad mesh and other things. I have already given it in the previous section. You can go there and refer that. Thank you.